Welcome to Brew with Miss Baritone. I'm your host, Chicky Baritone, and this is my podcast. I'm gonna give it to you all black, no creamer, no sugar, no honey. So join me as I brew up some life-giving conversations with some dope people. Welcome to Brew with Miss Baritone. I am very excited about my next guest. He is one of my best. He's like a really good friend of mine. Don't mind me. I'm just talking to the camera like he's not here. But this is a really good friend of mine. He is, by profession, he is a pharmacist. He is a actor. He is a producer. And he is also the founder of the M.A.Lee Scholarship Fund. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Maurice A. Lee.
Well, thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
Abundantly amazing. How are you?
I am doing well. I am so honored and I've been so excited about this time and this interview that I'm about to have with you today. And to just introduce you to my audience and people who don't know a lot about you. And a lot of times it's kind of hard to interview someone you have admired from afar who's done so much. And you have contributed so much to the world in your short stint of years. And so I'm really excited about what God has in store for you and for your life. Now, Dr. Lee, we both graduated from South Carolina State University.
Yeah.
And I met Dr. Lee when I was in the Miss Kappa Alpha Psi pageant. Shout out to the Kappas. And Dr. Lee was, you were online at that time, or you just crossed over at that point?
Well, we crossed, but we'd also taken over a new line.
Okay. And so there was a little part in the pageant where we had to learn this dance with the canes. And Dr. Lee was helping the contestants with that. And that was my first encounter with Dr. Lee.
Yes.
But throughout the years, he always has been this kind, gentle giant. I've always described you that way. That's only just a few of the acronyms I've used to describe you. But college, for some people, was a great experience. It was an awesome experience. But for some people, college wasn't. And you're one of those people. Tell me about your humble experience at South Carolina State.
Well, I can vividly remember the very first day that I walked on the campus of South Carolina. I was with my mom, I'm a stepfather, and my baby brother. And they walked into my dormitory room, mopped the floor, made the bed, and said, "Good luck." That was that. So that was my first introduction into adulthood.
Wow.
Okay. But shortly after starting South Carolina State University, the home front was hit very hard because the IRS started to garnish my mom's check. So at that time, she was bringing home $60 a week. And in that $60 a week, she would try to squeeze $20 out of that for me to have to make it through the week at South Carolina State University. So it became a point when it came time to re-enroll for the next year, I couldn't afford housing. So gratefully, I had amazing friends who opened up their floors and allowed me to sleep on their floors until I eventually ended up moving out from there, which was pretty much close towards the end of my matriculation at South Carolina State University. Will I take any of that back? No, because I do believe that that was an intricate part of the fabric that was to make me and who I was to become and what service I was supposed to provide in the community. Because I wanted to make sure that I would do something after matriculating through South Carolina State University that would afford opportunities for students to not have to endure what I did.
Yeah.
But it was an awesome experience that I had at South Carolina State University. It was so rich in culture.
Yeah.
Very diverse.
Yeah.
And they brought in a whole lot of tools that we use yet to this day in order to be able to survive in what we call the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not just you know, what you went through while you were in college, but you come from a family that valued education.
Yes.
So you already came into a situation that challenged you with various seeds of appreciation for
Yes.
giving back, for creating this amazing fund for kids to be able to go to school. Your personal testimony has, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's been like over 87 college recipients of your scholarship fund and over $100,000 that have been totaling over $100,000. Is that number accurate?
No, it's over 100 students that we have awarded.
Over 100.
And right now we are at maybe 200,000.
Oh, wow.
Because I also have an endowment with the Medical University of South Carolina.
Yes.
And that alone is $50,000.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
why is it so important outside of just what you went through? Why is education still one of those things that are so important to push to our young people?
I think it's very important because knowledge is that one entity that once you have, it can carry you throughout a lifetime.
Yeah.
If you use and choose to apply it the right way.
Absolutely.
And I also feel that we become so others can be.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So if we are in position to show students what they can become, that's our right to do so, which I call a rites of passage. But it is important to let them know that once you actually gain the knowledge, you have to apply the knowledge. And then once you apply the knowledge, then you have to spread the knowledge.
That's good.
That's how we keep it going.
Yeah.
Like we can't keep things bottled up for self-gain.
Absolutely.
We have to be able to share. That makes the world better. That makes our conditions as a community better as well.
Absolutely. Thus the term gifts, because when you are given a gift, the way God designed it, He's given this gift for us to give to others.
Yes.
It's not designed just for us to enjoy.
Exactly.
And what I love about your story is you go on to graduate, but then you also come back to South Carolina State for a job opportunity at Walgreens. So tell me about how all that came about.
It's very interesting because right at the point I was graduating from MUSC, shout out to MUSC.
Yes, yes.
They decided to open a Walgreens right in the center of Orangeburg.
Wow.
After I passed the boards, the job was ready for me to take. And it was an overwhelming task. It was an overwhelming task, but one that I enjoyed because I was given the opportunity, because I feel that in our community, healthcare and the topics of healthcare is such a taboo.
Yes.
We are afraid to talk about the things that often plague us.
Yeah.
Hence why we always have these generational, what they call curses or sicknesses that are passed down because our ancestors have never really talked about, which would allow those coming up to go get the proper testing to make sure that they're not heading down the same road. So I felt like being a Black man, right, a young Black man at that, I felt that we were breaking down the veil.
Yeah.
And we were allowing people to step across, to be comfortable, to talk about what they were going through so that I could in return, as I forestated, take that knowledge and share what I know and what I knew about healthcare and their particular ailments to preserve them and to make them better.
Yeah.
So it's a mantle that I took with a lot of humbleness. And I understood, or what do the young people say? I understood the assignment.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you did. You understood the assignment. You broke barriers and being the first Black pharmacist in your hometown in Utahville.
First Black male.
Male pharmacist in Utahville. Thank you. That is a huge accomplishment. And from your time just early on in your career and learning what you learned about the pharmacist and the medical industry, you then decide to take your gifts to LA.
I did.
That's a massive transition that needs a little narrative to it. What made you move to Los Angeles, California from South Carolina?
Interesting question. Okay, so we talked about my foundation.
Sure.
In which I used to always hold a scholarship gala.
Yes.
Every year in Orangeburg.
Right.
And so I would always invite recognizable talents. That's what I call them. I don't call them stars.
Correct.
I call them recognizable talents. I would always invite them to come and participate in the event. And after they would come and experience what it was, their conversation would always lead to, okay, why are you here?
Mm.
And I would say, okay, well, my family's here. I would try to give them a list of things as to why I felt like I needed to remain in South Carolina.
Right.
And I had this conversation yesterday with a fellow Bulldog, Sean Mixon, and I was telling him sometimes you have to listen intently to what people are saying, because sometimes people can say the same thing and in one moment it can hit differently. Mm. And that's what happened when one year Keith Robinson, who is well known for his role in Dreamgirls. Okay. So he came one year and he said, okay, brother, I see all this that you have going on. I know your family is here. That's wonderful and that's great, but why are you here? Mm. And in that moment, I couldn't provide an answer.
Wow.
And I think it's because it resonated a little differently with me for the mere fact that he's also from South Carolina. Ah. So this was coming from the voice of someone who's local. Yeah. So it meant something. And then in that moment, I kind of felt my brain churning and I started wondering, okay, is this something possible? Is this something that I could actually really do? Because by this time I was, 38?
Yeah. And so you started the whole gala for your scholarship for your 30th birthday.
It was my 30th birthday, yeah.
And you started with your own capital.
Correct.
That says to me more than just an event. That says to me, this is hard work, this is passion work, this is God's work.
Yeah.
And because of all of the things you had gone through and your heart for students, this was very, very important. Your average 30-year-old ain't trying to put on no scholarship gala.
Yeah.
And to have the running that you had with the gala too. 12 years?
Yeah, 12 years.
12 years.
12 amazing.
12 years. And I had the honor of being a part and kicking it off.
Yeah.
Which was funny. That was 2007?
2006.
2006. Which is also the same year I kicked off my poetry showcase in Greenville, South Carolina, where I raised money for local nonprofits.
Yep.
So it was such an honor. And I remember having the conversation with you, and me and my band came down.
Yep.
And I attended in those 12 years, don't quote me, I may have attended about 5 of your galas, 5 or 6.
Yep.
And he's being very modest, but you're talking about some pretty heavy hitters in Hollywood and just locally. The support was astounding.
Yes.
It really was inspiring to be in that audience, to be able to experience all of your hard work and the people that believed in what you were doing, and to witness to the giving back. Yeah. I will always leave your gala saying, God, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Mm-hmm. And I wasn't the only one. I know a lot of people start to go through that Rolodex in their mind of, am I doing enough?
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful thing. If you can go to an event and feel like, or challenge yourself to say, am I doing enough?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I know you had to be pretty proud of yourself. I know it's hard to say that because we don't want to give ourselves credit, but you have to be pretty proud of yourself for what you accomplished in 12 years. And nothing is meant to last forever. Right? So the timing of someone making mention of something you heard several ways over and over again, but coming from a voice of familiarity, sometimes is what it takes.
Is what it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it definitely sparked something in me.
Yeah.
And I had the ball rolling ever since then.
Yes. Yes. So LA now has been the place where you have also started your amazing production company, Mo Productions, Men of Excellence. And that is what you are, a man of excellence.
Thank you.
Tell me about how Mo Productions came about.
So I began to think about a lot of people that are filled with lots of talent, but they don't necessarily get the opportunity that they
Yes.
would like. So I wanted to start a production company that would flush out great content, but would also give those individuals an opportunity to be a part
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
all of the great projects that we have aligned that are going to be coming out of this camp. So again, it was just a way for me to, it wasn't really about my self gratification,
Yeah.
because I tell people the life that I've lived, I've done everything that I've ever wanted to do.
Wow.
I've done everything. So anything that I do now, it's about how is it going to benefit someone else?
Wow.
That's where I'm at in my mindset.
That's a dope place to be.
It's a wonderful place to be.
Yes, indeed.
And so that was the reason why I started this. I've brought on writers, amazing writers who are flushing out some dope projects. I cannot
Nice.
wait until the world sees these. Yeah. Directors,
Okay.
who are going to be giving a first shot at
Yeah.
directing based upon some of the projects I've seen they have done. And cameramen, soundmen, all of those individuals who just don't have that extensive resume.
Yeah.
But this is going to be the start of it.
Ooh. So you're starting this production company, but Maurice, you also are an amazing actor. And I caught some stuff that you have been doing.
I tell people I act every day. I'm at the grocery store and I'm acting, you know what I'm saying? You know?
Your world is
Do I want this? Do I not? To have? To not?
let the truth be told. We all got to do some acting at
We
some
all
point.
gonna have to do some acting.
At some point.
Right? So, oh, that's my friend. You know what I'm saying? Truth be told, that's how it's done, right?
Yes, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
But that's a major transition.
Yes.
And I know you've taken it seriously because of the kind of work you have done.
Yes.
Because honestly, let's be real. There's a lot of people that's in Hollywood that are upcoming actors or actresses, but they don't have the work. They're not getting the work. They're not getting any kind of exposure.
Yeah.
How do you separate yourself from the pack?
Well, the thing about how I intentionally move
Yeah.
in California, because, okay, I'm going to be transparent. One of the things that I don't like in Hollywood is the initial conversation. So the initial conversation goes something like this. Hi, how are you? I'm great. How are you? Good. So what is it that you do? So in that moment, they're sizing you up to determine if you can be of benefit to them.
Yeah.
That I don't like, because I feel like you need to get to know an individual before you get to know what it is that they actually do.
Right.
Now, down the road, if what they do would actually help you, then let that be organically done.
Yeah.
Don't let it be forced. So one of the things that has allowed me to be able to survive LA is the fact that I don't chase clicks and I don't chase crowds and I don't chase the most popular because I'm not in high school.
Y'all heard that? Right. Make it plain.
Make it plain.
Yeah.
So I've asked God to make anyone that comes in my path who is supposed to be a permanent fixture in my path to do so, but allow my spirit to recognize that.
Yeah.
Because if I feel like my spirit recognizes it, then it comes from a place of not from the flesh, which, as we know, there's no good thing that dwells in the flesh.
That's exactly right.
Right? So I always ask that whatever my spirit detects, let that be the leading force in whatever friendship or relationship that's supposed to be cultivated out of me meeting someone.
Yeah.
So that's how I choose to operate. And I tap into those individuals that are working across the board as opposed to working upward.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
And you were reared. We talked about that.
Oh, definitely.
You were reared and you were raised.
Yeah. Definitely.
And that's a very important point to make.
Yeah.
I love in your book you break down life experiences and you like literally list them. Life experience number 1, number 2, and so forth. And I'm big on affirmations. I love scripture because I love God, but I also love how you break down these lessons. And let me tell you, you suck a punch even with the first lesson. Your first lesson in your book was grow in grace, don't race to grow. Grow in grace.
Yeah.
Don't race to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about your life, you have been growing in grace
Yeah.
a lot more than what you have put out there. Because if anybody follows you, you're very intentional about your content, and that's wise. It's no need to, in my opinion, try to overstate or over exude content because you're trying to make people see something a certain way. And I feel like that's what that does.
It does.
Putting enough out there to kind of know some of the pivotal points of your life is important. What do you contribute to being patient and grace, being patient and grace, and being patient when God is not moving fast enough?
Well, one thing, I am very confident in who I am. I'm very confident about my placement in this world. Very confident. Okay.
Yes.
I'm also an individual who trusts God wholly with everything that pertains to his life.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
When they say that God guides the footsteps
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
of a righteous man,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I've turned over my entire life to God, and I told him, you have to take me by the hand and lead me where you want me to go. People ask me all the time, what's your 5-year plan? I said, well, my 5-year plan is to continue to trust in God.
Come on.
And I will allow him to do everything else.
I love it. I love it.
I don't ever create a plan. That's just not my life.
And let me tell you, it's something to that, and it's really okay. It's a skeleton to the body. It's not necessarily the path that you're going to take, but it's good to plan. I mean, it's nothing wrong with planning. I mean, even the Bible says to write the vision and make it plain, and you've done that. But you also leave those gaps for God to swivel and move this thing however he needs to do it.
Yes.
Which is super important.
Yes.
So somebody looking at your life would say, man, he's done a lot. When is it ever going to be enough? Do you ever just say, okay, I've done a good bit. I'm good. I'm just going to kind of ride this thing out. I'm not going to try to initiate any new things. So I saw this quote and I said, I got to ask Dr. Lee this. Do you feel like the gap between more and enough ever closes?
No.
Why not?
So I've always lived based off of a very wise man.
Okay.
That stated, in order for a man to be great, his reach must always exceed his grasp. So here we are. Okay. I have my college degree.
Yeah.
I have that in my hand.
Yeah.
But if I take this hand, I can now reach a little further for something else.
Oh, that's good, Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm following you.
So once I have that,
yeah,
this hand is now free again to reach a little further, to obtain something else.
I love it. Yeah.
So as long as you open your heart and your spirit to what the world has for you,
yeah,
you can always reach for it. I don't ever feel like you should be stuck as people, oh my gosh, you've done this, you've done that, you've done this, and you've done that. Right.
You're right.
And as long as I'm breathing and as long as God gives me the provisions to be able to do it, I'm going to do more.
And that's just a word for people who feel like and I feel like when you are not doing anything, it's okay to some people. Maybe it's just expectation. So they don't have anything to expect out of you because you're not trying. But the moment that you recognize the gifts and you want to please God and you want to fulfill your life and you continue to do a multitude of things, it's almost like people are like, okay, you good, right?
Yeah.
But it's the people that's saying that who have the greatest fear of doing anything that's remotely close to the reach
Yeah.
that you're doing.
Yeah.
They haven't even obtained anything, but it's so easy to talk about it. And tell me, I really want to know your thoughts too. The noise of life now is so much different, Dr. Lee, when we were in college.
Yes.
Thank God, Jesus, we ain't have social media
No.
to this extent, camera phones, people clicking and ticking and videotaping every single thing. How has now having social media as a part of your world, how has it been a pro and a con to what you do?
We'll tap in with the pros. The
Yeah.
pros is that it has allowed me to connect with a lot of people all over the world
Yeah.
who I would probably have never met,
Mm.
where we have kindred spirits.
Yeah.
We're like-minded. We have similar goals.
Yeah.
And then so we begin to pool our talents and
Yeah.
our resources to make certain things work. We develop great relationships and friendships with people just all over the world.
Yeah.
And then you begin to find out some of the things that they do. Like now people are going to find out about who you are as an amazing person and artist, right? It's because we're connected, and people will find out who I am because I'm connected to you. Like that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think as far as the cons are concerned is because we're looped into what is a very fictitious matrix. And our minds have been programmed so badly that we don't know how to look at something and be able to extrapolate from that and analyze that and figure out, okay, that won't work for me.
Yeah.
But I do see this. So let me apply that as opposed to applying the whole thing, which in return it messes up our psyche. We begin to compare ourselves to others, which then takes us down the road of depression. Because we feel like we're not too good enough. We feel like we can't measure up to who they are. So the cons are definitely a self-illusion.
That's good.
A self-illusion to the altered reality of what people really are.
Rewind.
Self-reality.
Self-illusion.
Self-illusion of the reality of what people really are.
All I can say is amen to that. That's all that's left to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really feel bad for the young people.
I do too.
I really feel bad for them because their minds have really been programmed. And I mean, if you just go through and filter through the comments, you can easily see where their minds are.
Yeah.
So for me, I go on social media just to see a little bit of what's going on. And then I step back immediately because I do not want what's being projected to be absorbed into my spirit, because then I become like the norm.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
The way I approach inspiration, because it's so much noise, and being a writer and a poet and even podcasting, it's a lot of noise. People are doing a whole bunch of stuff. I'll go on, I'm inspired by some content, and then I just pretty much shut it down. I don't need to see a whole bunch of stuff to develop a concept in order to write. I like to be inspired, but I have to also shut it down because I do believe in the gift that God has given me. And authenticity is everything to me when it comes to creating content. So I know you can relate to that heavily.
Definitely. Yeah.
Dr. Lee, I have had such an awesome experience.
Oh, so did I.
Having this conversation and you being a part of the podcast. Thank you just for taking out
It's
time
my pleasure.
to come and share with my audience. And, you know, I pray nothing but God's best for you. I mean, the best truly is yet to come. So I'm excited about what this journey is going to look like another 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for being a guest. Y'all give it up for Dr. Maurice Lee.
Thank you.